many times you as a director just have to learn how to be calm and absorb.
Honestly, every genre has been done. Uh, every take has been done, because the only thing different in this entire thing is you and your take.
You got an acting offer pretty early on.
Worst decision of life, yeah, Smriti. I could have been a hero.
It was really hard. It was really hard because a couple of months, like, okay, where are my friends? So I was like, what happened? Please, somebody help me, love me.
Here we go to the nerd alert part. For the sake of brevity and for the sake of your understanding, I've taken the liberty to use a tool using steel plates. Really, I don't have a geometry box to make a chart. Do not laugh, please. Be kind.
Welcome to Dial M for Films. Film editor Prerna Sehgal grew up in a joint family in Delhi. Films were the staple entertainment that would bring everyone in the house together. Her mother, Anurita Sehgal, who's also with us, by the way, attending this session. So a very, very warm welcome, Auntie. I'm so glad that you could join us to celebrate your daughter and also to learn from her. Was a production coordinator on big ticket international films like Kama Sutra, Tale of Love, and Monsoon Wedding. So the idea of working in film was not alien to the family, but Prerna's interest and journey in cinema began with a school project she desperately wanted to be a part of. In 2003, while pursuing a bachelor's in journalism and mass communication at IP University in Delhi, Prerna assisted documentary filmmaker Gauhar Raza on his film In Defense of Our Dreams. He encouraged her to join the one-year editing course at FTII in 2004. Post FTII, she worked on a host of documentaries in different Indian languages, both as assistant editor and editor. Apart from working on projects as an editor, in her early years, she has worked as second unit director and script supervisor on Victory and first assistant director and post-production coordinator on The Lunchbox. Her sensibility-altering break came when she began working on Vasan Bala's Peddlers. She was both associate director and editor on the film. Before Peddlers, I was working on Machine, but with Peddlers, I fell in love with the process all over again, said Prerna in an interview. She went on to edit Danis Stanovich's Tigers, Anurag Kashyap's Bombay Velvet, Vasan Bala's Mard Ko Dard Nahi Hota, and last year she edited Afsos, a series directed by Anubhuti Kashyap. Despite a solid and steady body of work, Prerna has always chosen to let her work speak for her and stayed very, very far away from public speaking. I'm thrilled she has made an exception for us. Welcome to Dial M for Films, Prerna, and thank you for giving us your time.
Thank you, Smriti. You've always been encouraging, and thank you everybody for joining. And hello, Mama. Thank you for everything. And the reason I'm here, Smriti, when there was a screening of Mard Ko Dard Nahi Hota in Delhi, and there was a panel discussion, and you called all of us on stage, and I was just hoping and praying that the mic doesn't come to me, and it did. And somebody asked me, how was the process of editing Mard Ko Dard Nahi Hota? And he was really excited because he enjoyed the film and everything. And I was so scared. I just said, oh, it was fun. It's always fun working with Vasan. And I was just following his vision. And I said, yes, and that's it. So when climbing stairs, you said, Prerna, that boy wanted to know your process. And you just stole that moment away from him. So I'm sorry, and I'm here for that boy. And I will speak as much as I... whatever I do, and I'll try to bring you into that gufa where I work and let you in. And there are no secrets and surprises. It's all fun and games. Like I'm in a very, very, very lucky situation and in a job which I really love. Started to love.
But Prerna, it's really good that you're here. I know you're incredible, and a lot of people in the industry know you're incredible, and we would really, really like to know your process. So I want to actually start from the very beginning and ask you, actually the 20 people who are on the Zoom call, they're either editors or they're aspiring editors, they're assistant directors, aspiring filmmakers, and they've got a host of really interesting questions. I'm very keen that we get to that part as quickly as possible, but there are a few questions I have and I would like to set that up for them. Prerna, what are your earliest memories of engaging with film? How did the love affair with cinema begin?
So, my love affair was very superficial initially. It was purely for entertainment, and I'm from a Punjabi background family where, you know, you buy tickets and you call your chachi, mami, tai, and all your cousins, and we all go and watch the film, and it is fun, just experience and the whole. Enjoy the film because you're with them, and then you laugh together and you bring back certain songs or certain dialogues and your cousins and reenact it. So the whole experience was always entertainment and fun and good times. So that's how I associated film. I associated myself with films, not just films. In fact, even television viewing. It was a joint family, and you know, early on when Doordarshan used to start, there was a beep mark before, and my grandfather apparently would always switch on the TV 5-10 minutes before, and we would. Yes.
Kalaba!
Kalabas. I would see this and I would be so excited that, you know, there's something going to start, I'm going to watch, and, you know, I would just plunk myself onto the sofa and we would watch it. So that experience was really good, and that tone would fill up the whole house. And many years later, I joined Masscom College, where we finished our print media, and I was a very clueless teenager, basically. I was in this course because of a friend, my closest friend, Guneet, was there, and we were together and we were studying. So then when this module started, the audio-visual module started, we were taught the basics. So the basic is to stripe a tape when you have a beta tape, or it's very technical. Like you have to fill in like the time code and stuff inside before you put in the actual footage that you want to put in. So the first time I saw, my teacher said, you know, my professor said, yeah, you have to put color bar for 5 seconds and the beep mark. And I said, beep mark? And I heard the beep mark and I was like, I was back into my early childhood days, and I was so happy. I said, oh my God, this tone I've heard. And my professor saying, you know, what happened? Like, you are a college student, and like, I can't tell you how happy I was. Because that sound took me back to my childhood. And I came back home, I told my grandfather, Dadaji, because I used to watch TV mostly with him. And I said, next color bar laga diya, and then uske baad humne picture lagai, uske andar, you know, the story is so and so forth. So that sound was very important to me. And nobody understood, but for me, it was important. So the reason I'm telling you all this is because eventually sound plays a very important role in our lives, right? It tells us about things before it happens, or it has happened, or it informs us, or it leads us to it. You know, there are so many things our mind is already conditioned to know because of sound. Like, for example, I'm sitting in my drawing room again watching TV, and I hear the car come in. So I already know my father is home, and he has bath, he opens the door, he has bath, he's come to the dining table. It's not a jump to me when I see him in his nightgown, in night suit. Because I know, yehi hua hoga, these are the events. So my mind is already accustomed to what is happening. So this is a training that we already have. We don't train ourselves, we experience it, and then we know it. And maybe if you hear thunderstorm, even if it's a room without windows, you know that's going to rain outside. You will take an umbrella outside. You don't have to be told that take an umbrella outside. You already know it. The baby cries, you're in a room, you know the baby's crying, she's woken up, you go to that room, you pick her up, you console him. So that's why, what I'm getting to is that sound is always, it's already there, and it's conditioned your mind, and we filmmakers use that for our advantage. Sorry, I deviated from the topic, but it was my early.
Oh, that's okay. No, listen, this is the topic. It's just that, you know, sound, as to how sound as an element creates resonance, right? So, you know, I do want to come back to that, but I also want to know a little bit about, because there's so many aspiring editors who would like to know this, and I find your journey very interesting, because maybe there are people out there who are going through the same journey of assisting and doing different jobs on set. And maybe, you know, they will fall in love with editing, or might choose that as their career going forward. So I just wanted to find out a couple of things before I got to sound, Prerna, which is, you know, you stumbled into editing because of a school project that you wanted to be a part of. And the only way that they would allow you is if you edited that particular project. First of all, I want to know what is this project, यार? मतलब इतना उन्होंने मुश्किल उन्होंने कहा तुम edit करो.
Basically, this is your again back to college, and 5 projects are supposed to be made, and the whole it's a 60 people team, and 5 each. ऐसे करके they have divided stuff 5 or 10 projects. So whoever has written the script and has been earliest to submit it, that person become the director. And if you have like a good approach with that boy or a girl, you will be in the team. And now what you will get is like up to him. So I got editing, whereas we did everything possible. We were serving bantas because we had no budget. We were serving samosas because we had no budget. I had my grandfather play a role because we needed an actor. So if you need somebody 83 plus, my grandfather is there. If you need somebody who's 3-year-old, my sister is there. So this is how we were making films and enjoying the whole process. So apart from this whole shooting process, which was fun, and when I came up to the editing table and the whole interface was first scary. You don't know what's happening. Acha, yahan se this starts. You don't know. But how the moment you start discovering and you slowly put the cut and what happens, and magic is a word you can actually use, because you're trying to put things together and it's making sense, and it was shot somewhere else, and there were OK takes, NG takes, and you're figuring those things out. And it's also a team effort. So for me, it was very important. It has to be like a collab. I'm not a solo person. So when I discuss it with people, so that's why I enjoy editing, because it's collaborative. You speak to the other person, you take notes, you understand, and people do feel like the lonely process, but it's not. Editing is not a lonely process at all. You have to interact with so many people. You have to understand their point of views and stuff like that. Coming back to my college project, then this project was screened. For the first time, there was a white chadar put and it was projected. Seeing something that you've made, bringing laughs to somebody else, or reacting to the point that you had cut it to, even though I did not know the meaning that time, but making people laugh because of your project was amazing. It was like a role reversal. It was me who was sitting on the sofa, and now these people are sitting on the sofa and seeing something that I had made, not alone, with the whole team. So it was fun. It is as simple as that. I wasn't bifurcating it, that I did this cut for this. I just put it together because I felt like it. That was my gut feeling, that I should just put it together and this is how it goes. So it was fun. I enjoyed the appreciation. I enjoyed that people are enjoying your film and they're understanding the story and they're discussing it. So that's how it was very interesting, and that's how I've stumbled upon many things and I've been lucky that way.
What is interesting is that, of course, you wanted to be part of this project, and editing is what you got, and that's how you could be. It's not as if you chose editing. It was given to you. And then when the project finished and you saw it screen, what made you stay? What got you hooked to editing? You could have hooked to anything.
So then there is another technical thing, not emotional thing that happened. There was on college recruitment. So in college, you're all worried about next kaam kya hoga and stuff. So there was a poster put. And Guneet is from my college, and we are childhood friends. And we were the 2 people who saw that poster and said, yes, we want to be editors because we have done this so-and-so work. And then we go and apply there. And we're just 2 girls sitting in that room. And Gaur sir comes in and he has to choose. Who will he choose? He has 2 people. So we are selected again. It's by luck. We are in Gaur sir's editing thing. We are working really, and sir is amazing. Gaur sir was so patient with us because we are not editors. We had just done one project on Premiere Pro, and he was still so open, and we were discussing. It was about Gujarat riots. It was really, really heavy topic, and we were having our point of views as college students and all. He was still listening to them, and there I had put dissolve once, and I had done some crossfades and stuff without me knowing I'm doing this, because I felt like it. All those things were because I felt like it. I wasn't doing it as a tool till now. I did not know what I'm doing, but I was saying that by doing this, I am enjoying what I'm watching. So you are your first viewers, right? And that's where Gaur sir said that why don't you, not because of the dissolve, but out of the project and seeing my work style and everything, he said, why don't you apply for FTII and Jamia? I said, हाँ Jamia के लिए apply करो, दिल्ली में ही है, ठीक है, Jamia के लिए करते. Somehow I did not, Jamia and FTII was same day. And so I half-heartedly finished Jamia, ran to FTI examination, and I had missed the 3-year course one. I entered the 1-year course. because I said that is available. Okay, so I was writing the paper and there was maths in it. So I wrote not applicable. Like, I am here not to do maths, it's stuff like that. And I said, okay. And then there are people who are like really seriously writing all the things, and I'm just seeing the visual. I remember there was a picture of a top angle shot of a sadhu sitting under the tree. So they wanted to know what angle it is and, explain it. So I gave whatever I thought, and I think that's what they liked about my answer. They were like really, I think it wasn't technical at all. That's what I think helped me go through it. Even in my interview, when they asked me what is the difference between a jump cut and a normal cut, I said, sir, if I would have known, I would not have come here. I want to learn. I don't know it. I don't know it. So I think different keys ko to le lo, with carry ko matlab padha dete hain. And so FTI again opened a lot of doors and it made me understand. I'm telling you, I have always stumbled upon things, and I've been lucky to have used it to my benefit. Somehow they've always helped me move forward. They've never hindered my glitches. Even in the edit, when I'll talk to, I'll let you know about some glitches that happen in your edit tables. It's always worked in your favor if you work towards it and you try to find a solution.
But Prerna, the other thing which is interesting is that when I called you for this session, and I think you were the first few calls that I made, and I know that you were busy in a couple of projects, and that's why we are doing it today. You didn't even miss a beat, and the topic was, it was almost like, Prerna, what would you like to speak about? And it was like, I want to speak about sound overlay, and you just said it out, and I was like, hey, all right, I have no idea what you're talking about. Do it. And you were so sure about that, and not even for a second did I counted it. I was like, I'm just going to go with you. So I want to first of all understand, as to, out of all the things that you could have spoken about, why did you choose this? Why is this so important to you?
See, generally editing is considered as a visual. You cut visuals and you join it together, but sound plays a very important role. A film is not a film till sound is added to it. It doesn't have the same effect. And even just through my journey that I have experienced, and I've found out how important it is, and how important it is to let people know that sound is just not a sound designer's job. Visuals is just not a DOP's job. It is everybody's collective effort. We have to work together to make a film, right? So how sound transforms and how magical the cuts become was always something that I was very, very hooked on to. I'm sure this technique is being used in every film. Sound overlap is used in every film in every level possible. You cannot finish a film. Like, I don't know how it will be done. You will use it a little bit here and there, and there are majorly as well. And my thing is that I don't know when it really started, when sound really started, but the way this tool came into my toolbox was very interesting. It was in, again, a project that we were doing in FTI. My 6 months course was finished, so theoretically everything we've learned, I know all these transitions, I know everything, but now it is our turn to use it practically. So in FTI, the whole team sits together and we do a storyboard and everything. In the storyboard, I have only suggested, this is like a mid-project that is happening, in which one of the projects that happens. So there I said that there will be like a room shot. It's a closed room where this girl is stuck and she looks at the picture, she puts it in a drawer, and she sits idly on the bed and she's hopeless, something like that. And the next shot was an open exterior shot with Blake and stuff like that. So on paper it was sounding fine, that there's a contrast here, it's interior at night, that's day, and it's sounding beautiful. And when it comes to the edit table, it's just not working. And I'm trying, it's not working. Like, now I feel it was really simple, but that time I was stuck and I was like, yehi to socha tha, why is it not working? So Mr. Prashant Naik comes into my room and he says, Prerna, what's the problem? He's a faculty, he's been like really, really great teacher and he's helped me through. And always smiling like that. So he comes inside and he says, Prerna, have you tried everything? I said, I have tried it. So he said, okay, show me the rushes. And he saw all the rushes and he said, Prerna, the answer is right there. You know, how you can just easily do it. I said, but what is it? He said, there's a close-up of a drawer that closes when the photograph is kept inside. I said, Yes, but I have to have that shot later in which she's sitting alone. I want to show that she's alone and stuff like that, because that I'm already, that is set in my mind. I'm not thinking beyond it. I'm not looking at the rushes in another perspective, which as an editor I should. I have to see rushes in every way possible and keep looking at them till I find the solution to the scene, because rushes will always have a solution in it. So he said, try this. When she closes the drawer, leave few frames on to the next scene. Okay, that is the wide shot of the lake and stuff. I said, okay. Reluctantly, I do that, and it's a brilliant cut. It's a beautiful cut. It flows well. It's not jarring at all, and it works. And I with a smile, I go back to my room and I'm happy. And then next day I go to sir and I say, sir, it was brilliant. मतलब ऐसा ही सोचा था, ऐसा ही था, ऐसा कहाँ सोचा था? हमने तो कुछ और सोचा था. But that worked, and it was so nice for me. I knew it. I had studied it. I had seen those films, and I was told about it, but I never used it. So you have to use it to know it, how it works. And it will work differently for different people and different situations. It won't like work. This shot might not work in some other situation, but here it was working. So he said, first of all, never crib about the rushes. Never ever crib. As an editor, you should not crib about the rushes. Go through the rushes as many times as you can. And you have to try everything before you say or you decide. Your edit decisions are dependent on after you've tried everything possible in your head. So that was like a big learning, and I immediately took that tool and put it in my imaginary toolbox, and I was ready for Mumbai. I was like, yes, I'm ready to do things.
No, but just an ancillary question to this is that I read an interview of yours where you said something very interesting. You said that I always believe that a film is written on the script table and it is grammatically corrected on the edit table. Prerna, what are the first things you understood about editing? Because it's not as if, you start to study editing, and like you just said, this incident is amazing where you said that, I was looking at the rushes, and then there is a faculty, my teacher came in and he said that, have you tried everything? Have you tried doing this? And there were two things that emerged from this is that keep looking at the rushes, and don't give up till you've, tried everything to kind of deliver on the promise that the narrative makes. So what were your early learnings, and what were the most important learnings that you had once you knew that you were on the path of kind of finding yourself as an editor?
So firstly, it was to know, you already know it, but to believe it, that it's a collaborative effort, and it's the director's vision that you're following. But that doesn't reduce your workload at all. In fact, it increases it, because he has something in his mind, but you have to put it on screen. And you have to be very, very close to the script. Like, as in, you have to be honest to the script. I generally read the script once or twice, and then when we are editing it, I read the scene as it comes. And so my first take always is to make the cut exactly like the script. And my first cut is always like the script. So if there is no transition anywhere, no nothing, if it doesn't say exterior shot for transition or sound overlap, I will not put it. It will be exactly like how it is there in the script. So it's very important for us to start at ground one. For us to it's a process. It's not I don't reach to a magical cut immediately. It has to be a process. So there's a first cut where you sit with the director, and half the time that the director already knows that the scene won't work because of this, and he might have already shot a sequence which is, there are sometimes extra scenes shot as well, which is not there in it. So he will say, ki, haan, wo dal ke dekho, and then, it will work. Or how this, then you can decide that this thing is being repetitive and this is taking long time and this shot is like this. Then you start discussing. So this first discussion happens with the director. And then you take out your toolbox, as you call it, and then you start tweaking things with the director being there, because he has to know where the film is going, because he will also guide you, like, this is important. And it's not a solo process. He can go out for 4-5 days and then come back, but you will be following his vision and your discussions and your notes that you'll be following, and then you will be making those cuts. Then what comes is your other screenings, where other people see it, and they will give you certain opinions and options that it won't work, because you either tried it or you will be angry and you will say, kya bas ye kiya, nahi sunna. But somehow you always end up using that suggestion that they have given you. I always think and I always make that cut. Whether I show it to anybody or not, but whatever suggestion in the screenings come, I always make that cut. And it's on my paper, it's always done. Whether it works or not, it is always tried. Then you start using your tools and you start using your various transitions and stuff like that to make the film that it is. And nowhere do you lose the track of the story. So when I say it is a grammatical tweaks that we do, is this, that the tools that we're using to make like enhancing emotion, or making the emotion a little compressed, or jumping time and space and stuff like that.
How do, Prerna, just like you said that, the tools that we use and the kind of things that we choose to string the narrative together or grammatically correct the narrative and stay true to the director's vision. How does sound overlap, what you've chosen today to speak about, how does it help the narrative creatively?
So, like I told you, like filmmaking is, in a way, reenacting of reality. Like, you are showing reality in another different form, which you're already aware of. Like you use, like I told you the example of sound. You already know that certain things happen after certain things. So we can use that information and use it in a film. For example, like the car example, I've used it in Afsos. It's there in episode 5 or somewhere where Upadhyaya gets stabbed and you enter.
Are you giving out spoilers? No, I'm just kidding.
No.
I'm just kidding.
She gets stabbed, and the next shot is Shloka, the psychiatrist, and you hear the car sound reach there. And we don't show how she traveled, the car, anything, the entry, exit, nothing. It's just that the car stopped and now Upadhyaya is entered. So this was again taken, like, no, I won't say directly, but this is your childhood, like when the car stopped, your father came in and you directly saw him on the alternative. So that thought is there. It's not exactly interpreted that way, but that thought came from there subconsciously. And so it's not just sound overlap. I would be unfair if I say that it's the only tool. It's one of the tools. Like there are various
one of the tools.
One of the tools, which I enjoyed because it has a story behind it and how I started using it. So if you want, if you see, there are
give us examples, because it's really interesting to kind of see first of all what it does to the narrative creatively, if this is the transition that you would use, and then the second step that we would come to is that how does it logistically help the narrative.
Before that, I would just like to explain that all the transitions that we use ever in the edit or the tools that we use are always a replication of a real life thing. Like even if you use a wipe, you have buses wipe in front of you, or you have a person who wipes and the glass le gaya. So when the wipe happens, glass chala gaya. Somebody came. So those things are always there. Whatever these tools are, they're actually something that has happened in real life. The mind is accustomed to understand why this is happening. So as an editor, we play on that. As a filmmaker, we play on that. How we are going to use it in the narrative to make it free flowing and all. Even if you take an example of, say, a page peel. So you read books, you change flaps. It's used. And then if you have an example of an iris, like when you go to a bookstore or you go to a DVD parlor or somewhere, there's not a black hole that comes into your real life image, but you zoom into that particular book that you want to pick up. So iris is somewhere like that. Similarly, sound cuts, as I explained, is already there. And in human mind, we've already explained how it is going to work. So these cuts are actually called J and L cuts. J and L coming from the alphabet. If you see it on your keyboard or anywhere, J and L. So it starts before the image comes in and one ends before the image goes out. So I would like to share my screen.
Yes, please do.
One second, I'll just... It's not a moving image, it's just a still image. But yeah.
Guys, we have right issues, so we didn't want to upset anyone. So therefore, Prerna's sharing a timeline, not with moving images, but with still images. But she's just going to explain, the J and L concept to you.
So can you see, like, This is like a snapshot, so I can't move it too much. But if you can see my mouse moving, Smriti, can you see my mouse?
Yeah, I can see your mouse moving across the timeline.
So on top, the blue ones are, this interface is FCP. It says on the top corner with an apple, it says Final Cut Pro. And if you see, it is an old video. So it has, the blue ones are the video files and the green ones are the audio files.
Got
And
it.
you see over here, you can see this is a cut. This is a cut point where my toggle is there. It's a cut point. And the sound has already started before the next visual is there.
Yes.
The first visual is of Supri giving a punch to a bang onto the barbed wire, not barbed wire, but this wired mesh in which Surya falls. This is a test video we had shot, how we are going to shoot. So this is a test video footage. And so the sound takes us to the next cut. The punch is not completely shown on this boy, on Supri's hand, but we jump onto the shot in which we take the impact onto Surya banging onto this mesh. So that's like, this is called like a J cut, where the sound starts before and the visual comes in later. The bang of Surya is actually the punch of Supri. If I am clear, like I can show you a close-up view as well. Yeah. So
I can see a baby. What's that? Okay, I'm just kidding.
that's my view.
That's a Saiba. Okay. Okay.
So here you can see it clearly. You can see like A03 clip 29 and you can see
Got
A0.
it.
So these are two clip names, okay? So these are two clips and we have a sound file which is of clip 77 which is starting on clip 29, if that makes sense. So if you can see, it makes like an L shape. Sorry, a J shape if you see. That's how you write J, right? So that's why
Got
it's
it.
called J cut. And then you have something, the sound carrying on to the next shot. So it's called an L, where the sound lingers on to the next cut. And this process makes the whole thing very,
L. That's L.
yes, very seamless. Once the L and once the J. I
So
think-
basically, the sound started before your next shot came in, right? And the sound lingers on to the next shot that you cut to, right? So that is what you're referring to as a J and L thing,
Yes.
because the sound in both cases
It's the
sort
same.
of
Same. It's basically unifying the cut. It's covering the cut. If you see it in a visual, it will be more interesting, and I will give you more examples. But this
Yeah.
kata of J and L cuts can be used at various levels. It's not just on single shot. It can be done on scenes, transition from one scene to the other. It can be from a start of a film to the end of the film. For start of the film, it's like Bombay Velvet started with. So you're going into the mood of the film. It's going to be a musical and stuff like that. Or if you want, like a recent example which I was seeing on TV, that it was Contagion. I couldn't see the full film because I'm too scared, and this thought is.
yeah, this is not the time.
So anyhow, but it started in a very interesting way, Contagion. It is on black frame. You hear people speaking, so it's a crowded place, and then there's a cuff, and you see our protagonist there, a character there, and it's a close shot. You don't really see a wide. They don't have to shoot wide because they've already established through sound that it's a airport and stuff like that. So they could finish the scene in close-ups and pay attention more to the details, like the cup later, the peanut that she had. So they could pay more attention to that instead of establishing things. So that's how the choice of shots change. That's how it's an edit decision. It is an edit decision to use these shots here because we've already answered certain questions with sound. And
Sorry, carry on.
sorry.
So I also wanted to find out, you've also worked, apart from really big projects, you've also worked on independent films. And the thing is that independent films do not, unfortunately, enjoy the kind of budgets that, studio films do. I remember that, of course, we'll talk a little more about Peddlers later. But Peddlers was that one passion project that you did. And, you were the associate director. You were also the editor of the feature. And There were 5 days of footage that were lost. For an independent film, that's like half the film is gone. No, I'm just kidding. It is massive because you don't have the budgets to reshoot it. Does the use of intelligent editing and these kind of tools also help in logistically threading the narrative? Like, for example, you said that maybe in Contagion, they might have taken a sort of creative decision and said that, okay, fine, we'll focus on the details. But it also saved them an entire shoot at the airport.
So they must have, but it was more, they could have taken less crew there and stuff like that, and
So does that also sometimes, help your vision? Because the thing is, you might have the vision, you might have the story, but you might not have the money to show a lot of the things that maybe other films can. Like, what is your view on how it helps filmmakers logistically?
So when, you quoted me saying that with Peddlers, I fell in love with the
Process.
The process again is exactly what I want to say here is because, again, I was very, initially I was purist and by the book and stuff like that. And now you don't have 5-day footage. You don't have 5-day footage. And Vasan, apart from being my husband, is also, I consider him to be my mentor because he really opened my mind and made me believe yes, that's a special picture. And,
no, but we have to tell them what that picture is. That's a lovely blurry picture because it's a very blurry, happy moment. That's the day they got to know about the selection at Cannes Film Festival. So this is a celebration, guys, and this is a labor of love. That first-time filmmaker, editor. I mean, Prerna was not a first-time editor, but she was doing a lot.
This is like my birth.
It was like a first film, as she says, and the first-time DOP, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes. So we all were there together. Anyhow, so what I was saying was that I bullied Vasan to make me an associate director because I had stopped liking editing because maybe it was the process that I was going through, the people I was meeting. So I had I thought, I don't want to do this. I'm not happy doing editing because there's nothing happening. It was nothing challenging for me. And then it was more of labor that I was doing unnecessarily and I wasn't going anywhere. And so I said, I want to be an associate director. If you make me associate director, I will edit your film. And I don't know what Vasan saw in me that he wanted. Maybe it was this. I don't know. I was quite loud about it, so he said, okay, or I don't know what. But I'm so glad I did this film because this film taught me again something that Nayak sir had told me, to respect your rushes, and your answers are always there in the rushes. And as an editor, we have to find a way out, and that's our job. The scriptwriter, everybody has done things, and now it's our job to make it happen because if the footage is lost, it is lost. And there is no way. The film is not going to be made, is not an option. So this is when a glitch becomes your power, and this is an opportunity for, why would, I remember my first mention as your Prerna's editing is worth mentioning was in Cannes in a variety review or something, and I could not have imagined my name because I did not even think that much. I enjoyed the movie, but I thought, yeah, editing nahi hai, bas theek hai, ye kar liya, and isme maza aaya. Now let's see what next I'll do. And but I was in love with the process. I was enjoying it. So somewhere it stayed by with me. And so there is a very, very crucial scene. I'm not talking about the footage loss because that footage loss, how we compensated, is a huge story. It's like you have to see Peddlers for me to explain it. But there's a small example for Peddlers. Whatever we got, we were shooting. We were making use of it. Like Vasan had a strong grip on the script, so whatever he got, he could shoot, and there was a thought. And in this case particularly, it helped me being on the set. So I was knowing the problem, and then this is the solution he did, and so the lineups were easy. Not easy, it wasn't easy, but yeah, it was still clear in our head. So the main fight in our, I don't know. There's an important fight in the film in which two characters are there, and there were two cameras called, and somehow we had Red MX and Alexa. Now these footages don't match. You cannot use it together. And a fight sequence with one camera, what are you going to do? You have to keep people engaged. You have to make sure there is fear, there is goriness, and there is, people feel bad for one person and they see the real side of the other person with one angle. Like you're seeing one side only. So So how will you do it? So what we did was, luckily, I don't know why, there was this shot taken of the, if supposing I say A, because it's an important part, I'm not using the names of the characters here, but supposing it was character A and B in a fight, and we have the shot of B, character B, which is the aftermath of the fight. And it was just a random shot because we had it, so we just shot it. But that eventually ended up being the most crucial shot that we ever had to finish our climax. So what we did, we started the fight and the topics that had to be touched in the visuals. But the rest of the fight finished on this man who is healing his wounds. And saying that, and the audiences are understanding what is happening to character A, which is like he's beaten up black and blue and he's had like bones ripped and stuff. And we're not showing this. This is only sound of bone breaking, biting and stuff like that. It's happening. And it suddenly becomes such a scary shot. Like I remember in Cannes screening, we came out and a person came up to Vasan and said, "You don't look like a dangerous guy." Because she thought that, Vasan, you look like a nice person. How can you be so scary? Like, you know, it was really brutal even when we were seeing it on, because we also saw the film together finally in Cannes, because we were all making sure that it's finished. Like, dabbe mein aa jaye taki hum picture bhej dein. It was like that. So finally we saw, and we were also taken aback with the sound and everything. Of course, the designing is done by Ruben, but the ideas of putting the bone cracks and these was on the edit table that we just stumbled upon because we had no other option. We had to find a way to finish this film if it started. There are hopes attached, money and whatever little money, but money is attached. We have to finish the film. And so that was an opportunity which became a great editing decision and which helped the movie in a way that we could not have imagined. Suddenly the climax became like tenfold more stronger. So there's always an opportunity in a miss. So always try and find that, and that makes it more exciting. That makes it more fun. Like for example in Afsos again, of course हमें Queen का shot नहीं मिलता, Queen का phone पे बात करते हुए. So there's a shot of Buckingham Palace where we have a sound overlap of Queen phone happening. Somebody has dubbed it. But it does the purpose.
It solves the purpose.
It does it. So that's fun. That is the magic of filmmaking. You're making people believe even when they're not seeing it. And sound does that. And that's why it is like fun thing.
Prerna, how much of editing is technology and how much of it is sensibility?
I think it is sensibility is everything. If you don't have a sensibility, what are you going to do with the technology? Like you cannot do anything. But now times have changed. Like earlier people were actually working on real footage and stuff like that. And I remember people have to increase and up their education every time, like from non-linear to from linear to non-linear. Even Thelma was very, I'm taking an example of Thelma because she told me this. She said there's a special software which is Lightworks, which has a special control panel which is like a flatbed editing system, which is specially created for her. So that makes her editing experience similar to what it was earlier. But again, because now everything is non-linear and it has to be given to sound departments and other departments, it has to be linked with the technology, and the art has to be linked. So that is being done by Spot, who's amazing technically, who's her associate since Casino days. But that doesn't mean, not knowing the technology doesn't hamper Thelma's efforts. She is a great editor, and not knowing Avid or anything doesn't matter. Her mind, her sense in which she sees the rushes and the cuts, the discussions, the reasons why she's doing this, that's not technology driven. That is a sensibility. But having said that, now is a time when we are already, I have never worked on Steam Deck. I've seen it when I did a 1-year course, so we were not allowed, of course, we were not allowed to be on Steam Deck because that's another course altogether. But I did see it. I don't know how it works, but it was fascinating. But I have always worked on non-linear. So for me, if I don't, it's important for me to know the technology. I have to explain things to the sound department. I have to explain something to some other department. So I should know the things that I'm talking about, how it can be done. If they say it cannot be done, I can say no, it can be done. Or if they say it can be done, I'll say, show me how. You know, but you have to grow and evolve with the technology. You cannot be like, we cannot be saying that no, mera acha sense hai, abhi ye aise se kar do. Nahi. Up we have to be a little more open to technology. Like now, FCP7 is dying out completely, or more or less more. Avid is still there. FCP10 is coming. Premiere Pro. See, all of them, the basic is the same. Cut, in and out, cut. All those things are same. It's just an interface that keeps changing, and you have to grow with it. Otherwise, you know, like I know when I do a big, like Bombay Velvet was done on Avid because it's a big budget film, so they could afford Avid. Avid is very expensive software, and the associate who comes along with the Avid is also like for the young people who want to get into, put a step inside the edit room. It's good, learn Avid. You will get money, you will be paid well, and you will get a chance to be in the edit room. So I think technology is important now, but it's not the only thing. Maybe it's a 20% thing. But it's always a bonus if you know. It's nice if you know.
You know, Prerna, a couple of things that I wanted to also just, before I open the house out for questions, I wanted to find out that, you know, you've got varied experience on set. Like you said that at one point of time, I was getting tired of editing, you know, maybe because you didn't have a passion project and you wanted to be an associate director. And that's how you negotiated with Vasan. You were also a script supervisor. You've also been the first AD. And now you've spent about 14 years in the industry. So people who are starting their journey or are already on their journey, they're on set or they're assisting someone, if you could tell us a few things that when you look back in retrospect, you feel could have enhanced your learning even more. You know, because sometimes when you're in the thick of the action, you're learning, but you're not really thinking about it. But if I was to transport you back in time, what are the things that people can do to just learn? You know, just get the best out of their experience there.
See, you have to get your foot inside the room first. Like, you know, at any cost, you have to make sure that you are there. And luckily for me, I maybe stumbled inside those rooms, but I was there and I was luckily aware of what is happening, and I could take those experiences with me and move forward. So as anybody who's joining, starting up, it's very important. I feel being an assistant is always good. Like going step by step is always makes your life more steady, and you know what you're doing. You've made your mistakes at a level, and when you're an editor, you can, you know, and you don't have to be scared of making the mistakes, but you have to learn and you have to make sure that you don't do it again. And that's how I would suggest everybody, if they can, film schools are a good idea where you can make all your mistakes and you can learn from them. It's in a place where you feel more guarded and it's a more comfortable place. But if people can't go to film school for whatever reasons, then please start assisting. It's not bad. It's good. It sounds good that I never assisted anybody and I've done whatever I've done. But I had no option. I had to assist. I had no idea. But I was lucky enough that in Frozen, Shan Mohammed gave me a chance. But I was fellow FTI, so he helped me. He gave me a chance to assist. I was also a rushes runner in Frozen, by the way. So I took everything, and I am also credited for the making of Edit, which didn't happen really. But yeah, so I did every possible thing they offered me. I wanted to do, and I think that first year I only earned 30,000 rupees. Like I did not earn anything. There was no money. But I was enjoying. I was doing something that I was excited about. This black and white film, and the director and the DOP are speaking, and I'm there in between them, and I'm hearing what they're saying. Subconsciously, it was coming into my head, and that's so valuable that price cannot, you cannot pay a price for that. So my basic thing is that you should. First option is to enter the room and be a part of any project at any capacity. And then later, if you're like, supposing if you become an AD, then you can easily say, I would like to be post-production AD. There you can learn things. You know, be open to it. And of course, money is important, but initially if you can, you know, try and get, and people will love you if you want to become a post-production AD, because many people just, in the love of cinema, just do the shoot and they don't want to be a post-production AD. So they will love that you are there. And it will be a great learning experience, because shooting is one part which is fun and difficult. But there is also, just a second, my daughter is playing. Can you hear that? No, na?
Yo, I thought that was my doorbell. I can hear it, but it's okay. It's not a problem.
Okay. Because
We are all at home. There are strange sounds. We are talking about sound.
So yeah, so that's my daughter playing, and yeah, I tried to stop, but sorry.
Yeah.
So this is the memory you will remember. Anyhow, so what was I saying? Yes, to get your foot inside. We join the film set at any capacity, and be open because every stage is learning. I remember in script supervision. So I loved watching the rushes that was happening on the screen, the live rushes, and so I was also part of the edit in Victory. Like I wasn't a part of the edit team, but I was the post-production AD. And another thing, and when I was post-production AD, there was a chance in which I could become a second unit director, and I had to shoot the opening montage of the film. They said, so the associate and the first AD said, nahi, ye sab ho nahi sakta, ye kya hai. So I said, no, I will do it. I will travel. I was like, they are giving me film camera, and I'm allowed to go and shoot, and I'm allowed to travel. And the only thing was you have to capture cricket in every form. So I said, sir, I will shoot blind cricket, because I knew my mummy used to go to blind school to buy diyas. And there they had said that blind cricket is there. So they thought this idea is very good. Blind cricket to start carrying a Victory film and stuff like that. So I said I will do it, and I took my mother's help for permissions and all. So I went, shot that. Then they liked the footage, and they said, can you shoot one in front of India Gate? With no permission and with film camera, I am only batting there and I am only shooting. So we get the shot there. So I can't tell you the experience it was. And then when the edit happened, and in Darjeeling, the toy train is going, and we are shouting, bat maro, ball maro, and stuff like that. And it was another experience. And I remember in the review, they said, I don't know about the film, but the best part is the opening montage. So I was like, and I was credited for that. And I was like, oh my God. And I'd never said no to it. And I was there for the edit as well of that shot. Of course, Balu sir did it. He made the whole thing, and he made it beautiful by joining it together. But he was really happy with the rushes and the variety he got. And I think that also came subconsciously because I'm an editing person. So I knew that he needs variety, and it'll make the whole setup more 3D and more interesting if there is variety. And we are not just cutting on to people playing cricket. We had reactions, these things. These things I was taking because I had an experience of editing. Like I was an editing student. So yeah.
Prerna, like you said that, you didn't say no to too many things because you wanted to experience it. You also wanted to go out there and kind of do this, and you were getting this tremendous opportunity. You're also somebody who has not only worked with, Indian directors, but you've also got the opportunity to work with people from the West. You worked with Danis Tanovich. He's a celebrated director. You did his film Tigers. And then, of course, Bombay Velvet. And I remember a really funny thing from Bombay Velvet because, Danis recommended you to Anurag. Anurag was very confident that Prerna is my editor. But you said in one interview that for 2 years, I lived with people asking me, you're the main editor for Bombay Velvet? You're like, yes. And then by a quirk of fate, because Martin Scorsese happened to see the rushes of the film, he offered the services of the great Thelma Schoonmaker. So I just want to know that what is the difference between working with a person in a Western outfit and working in an Indian outfit?
So the Indian scenario we know. There are certain things, like I'll give you one example. In Bombay Velvet, there's a shot in which there's a pan to a newspaper that says Godse hanged or something, Godse done. So when it's clear that it tells you what time it was. The shot is there for people the mood to be set. It's independence done and stuff like that. So that shot is there, and to add a little bit more flavor, this shot is there. It gives you a lot of information. But when Thelma saw that shot, she said, what is this? And why is there stay so much on this shot? Because Godse doesn't mean anything to them. They know Gandhiji was killed and stuff like that, but they don't know who Godse is. So that perspective. Now suddenly, while doing Tigers, this helped me a lot because Danis is an amazing, amazing person. And, initially I was scared of him. And scared as in because he is a Bosnian who's a Punjabi. So imagine a Punjabi guy and, he's so much fun, and you met him and you know how he is, and he loves the whole process of editing too and stuff like that. So in that case, explaining things were more important because it was a language that he did not understand. So he was the viewer from, and I was handling the Indian perspective of the edit, and he was the eyes from West point of view. So in that case, a lot of explaining has to be done through visuals because they will not understand the language. And I used to say how, and when I used to sit, I was doing on location not really on location, but every evening he would come and we would sit for 15-20 minutes and we would discuss the rushes, and he would say that I like that take, is dialogue and all right. And I would say, well, how? It's actually good. How do you know it? You don't understand the language. He says, Prerna, I just follow the eyes. So if the eyes hold on to me, I keep the shot. So more or less his okay takes were pretty much dialogue okay takes also. So I was so that's a sign of a great director, and he had the script in his mind very clear and sorted. But in that case, Western sensibilities and Indian sensibilities in Tigers, it's more clear. If you can see the way it's shot also, even the way the Western part is shot and the way the Indian part is shot, you can see that. Like you will see how do I say, the houses, the colors that you see in Tigers are a little over the top because that's how West sees us, you know. It's not India, it's Pakistan, but still, you know, the things are there, and the certain jokes are slightly over the top, but not too much. But it also has a little bit of Bosnian flavor because he also has brought in his own take, like the dining room sequence in which the mother says something like आप मतलब शांति बाद में करना, खाना पहले खा लो, something like that. So it was from his experience in his family or something like that. The father was cribbing, if you keep shouting, how will I eat food? So he said, खाना पहले खा लो, शांति बाद में रख लेना, something like that. So this was brought into the scene by Danish. So those things, like, so how do I explain? See, filmmaking and the language of filmmaking is universal. It either works, either the film speaks to you, or it doesn't. So it's not much of a difference. The clarity has to be there. That's how do we relate to international film so many times, you know? The mood, the human, like how I was talking about sound, you know, there's certain points that connect to us, but there are certain track points which, like Thelma did not understand what who Godse is. Those things have to be ironed out. Otherwise, it's a universal language where people around the world would understand, and that's how films work.
So you feel that no difference, real difference in the process of editing, if you're editing for a director from the West or editing for a director here?
You have to watch the rushes, you have to make your notes, you have to do the first cut, you have to do the views, and yeah, it's just the interpretation of certain parts which are like plot points which have to be.
Got it. One last question before we start taking the questions, which is that you know the kind of narrative that is afloat in the industry right now. But just to speak about that constructively and positively in terms of looking within, you've been in the industry for 14 years now, Prerna. What are the few things that you feel can change about the industry that can make it a more humane place?
Industry in general, or just edit?
Industry in general. And of course, if you have some pointers for what can change in the edit process, would be great.
So, my main, like, I'm going to talk about editing first, and in general, is like, I don't know why people have fear of sharing credits or giving credits. Like, I don't know why people are trying to chop off credits of editors, and why. It's an important place, and you should acknowledge it's an important department. You should acknowledge every department is important, and so is editing. So why, and in a poster, what's wrong in giving the name of an editor? What's the problem? So I find that really weird, and the clause, or sometimes it says right to putting the credit is with the producers. अरे भाई काम किया है तो नाम तो डाल दो ना, क्या जाता है, मतलब ऐसा तो नहीं काम नहीं किया है. So why don't you share credits? And I think and the norm that I find really, really disturbing in this industry is, and it's a very chalta hai attitude, and I don't get it how, because we don't do it in our daily life, is not paying people on time. Like I don't understand. I don't understand. That's a basic human. And rest of the things, treatment and those are there. Like you have to equality and stuff and all. But ये तो basic है ना. You have to pay people on time. Why do people have to send reminders again and again for, especially for post, after the edit is done, the sound, everybody is paid, and suddenly the editors के लिए पैसा खत्म हो जाता है and stuff like that. I find that a little weird to understand. Even in ad films and all, everybody else is paid, and editor's payment will be paid after the film is given up. क्यों मतलब is done? What is wrong? What is it that you don't want to pay the editors well? That is and not just editors, like the post department in general. There is a problem in payments. Yeah, that is my thing. And industry in general, there are a lot of things that people are speaking about, but these are something that is in edit related. So I really want to bring that up in this case, which is sorry.
That's okay. No, but you're right, and thanks for bringing this up, because credits are a real problem. Pay scales are a real problem. I don't understand why people should work for free. And the other thing is that not paying people, even if you're paying them peanuts, at least don't make them run around for that. So these are things that really need to be fixed, because I think a lot of they cause a lot of heartache. And they cause a lot of disappointment, and they cause a lot of bad blood, and not fixing these and having these problems even now in the industry is, these are the real issues. I hope, Prerna, that people look at and look within and try and rectify those, as opposed to, skewed narratives that are very agenda-led. Thank you so much. I am going to now give the opportunity to really capable people who are here on the call with us. I'm going to request. They're just, we've got 20 people. There's also Manas Mittal, your mother, a couple of other people who are there. And I'm going to now request Avadhoot Borkar to put on his video. And if we can unmute Avadhoot, he can ask his question, please. There he is. Hi.
Hello.
Hi.
Thank you so much for your information and your time. It was amazing to hear from you. I've heard about you before I came to know about this session. And so getting into my question, I have a question that if there is a complex scene, there are complex scenes, a number of scenes, 2 or 3 scenes, where the first scene is fight scene, and suddenly a second scene is romantic scene, and the third scene is something different. So in that case, how we maintain the flow? I mean, it kind of seems like a jerk. It feels like a jerk that something's going wrong. So I had this kind of project before where I failed that thing. I couldn't maintain the flow. So can you help me with that?
So this is a very, it's a question which depends on the script and how it's written and stuff like that. But you have to have a thread that is common. It's very important to have something that is common to all these things. Like for example, I would like to take the example of Bombay Velvet, in which we had to show growth of Bombay Velvet as the huge place that it is. We had to show Johnny and Rosie's love story. We had to show how Kambata is using Bombay Velvet as a place where land deals are being tracked. How simultaneously those journalists are coming who are there, who are writing about Bombay Velvet, that these things are happening. All this and so much more, and how the conclusion happens with the end of the sound of Naakte Gussa. It's not an exact example of sound overlap, but it has a lot of sound overlaps, dissolves, and we also have vibes, and we have newspaper superimposition for bringing the story in and threading all of this together. Like we see there's a conflict between Kambata and Rosie as well, where he tells Rosie, if I'm not mistaken, he tells Rosie that I know about Jimmy Mistry and you. So he said that you better keep quiet because I know about you. Then we also see in the scene in which he's explaining the land deal, we also have a subtle shot in which he's touching his hand, and we also show a slight, a romantic thing between Khambata and Johnny Malraj. And we're also showing the land deal happening. We're also showing the plight of the minister who's being harassed because they have the negative. So this all has been done by keeping the jazz music below, if you notice it. There's the Naak Pe Gussa, it starts, and then the tune of Naak Pe Gussa continues. And this whole song, this whole montage ends with, again, Rosie being in Bombay Velvet, where all these key players are inside. And it ends with a bang into the press conference, which has led to all of this. Like, the minister wasn't wanting to have Nariman Point. So he did it because Romy Mehta and Khambata decided the deal, and so that's how we, these are 5-6 tracks which we brought together with the help of music. Music bound all of that. And also there are a lot of sound overlaps. One dialogue, Jimmy Mystery typing goes into showing the visuals of how the Andolan is taking place. Then we also have shots of the song happening and Johnny looking at Rosie lovingly and yet taking care of Romy Mehta and other people, bringing in cigars and all that nice to meet you is happening. And all that is also happening. But this all happens in Bombay Velvet. These people are important. And how it all culminates in there is how we're bringing the stories together. We start here and we then, with the help of sound and music and overlaps, we bring all of them together. Because there are a lot of characters that we're dealing with and a lot of issues. So that's how we need one unifying factor. And it depends. If this works here, it doesn't necessarily, it will work in your case. We need to read the script and understand. Always you need to know the final result of the script and then you take all these editing decisions. How you want to put it and where.
Thank you, Avadut. Avadut, it might not be a bad idea now that, Prerna has given this lovely sort of explanation and lovely cues to go back and watch Bombay Velvet with fresh eyes, and see how this is done. Thank you for the lovely question. Thank you. Can we request Manas Mittal to put on his video, please? And can we unmute him?
Hello.
Hi, Manas.
हेलो नमस्ते मैंने जब से मर्द को दर्द नहीं होता है देखी है तब से मैं इंतजार कर रहा था कि मुझे कब मास्टर क्लास मिलेगी प्रेरणा से because I'm a huge fan of her work and a huge fan of that film. So I'll get straight to my question because she did a lot of very, very interesting and modern work in Mard Ko Dard Nahi Hota, which at least Indian audience is not used to watching. And a lot of Vasan's work and Prerna's work is heavily depends on visual design and edit/sound design. So my question is, and I'm not sure what was what, but my question is about how does your approach differ on the edit when you approach a fully scripted or a design sequence as opposed to something that was improvised on the edit. So for example, two of my favorite sequences are the Jimmy and Mani past sequence, or for example, the Surya growing up in his grandfather's house sequence. A lot of times when we watch films as audience, they seem preconceived. But me being an editor, I know that, not always it is so. So how does your process work when you do these things?
Thank you, Manas, and I am a big fan too. And the thing is, I'm glad you picked up Mard Ko Dard Nahi Hota, because in that there are two examples clearly in which one was written in the script, the sound overlap tool and this transitions and stuff. One was on script and one was something that we did on the edit table, and it happened. We were trying the process, you know how it is. We were trying. So the thing that we did on edit table, and which I was really happy that day and I slept well, was when young Surya runs away from his new house, when he leaves his old apartment building, and he runs away and he goes to the new bungalow which is Ajoba owns. It starts with an overlap where he's sad that he's broken the promise with Supri, and Ajoba says, no, now you have responsibility towards something on that line. You have responsibility towards your father. And then he starts telling him, मैं भी तेरी तरह ही था जब मैं छोटा था, मैं भी नेताजी से मिलने गया था. And then when he starts telling story, it becomes like a story. His voice becomes like a story. And we see Supri running out, then we see Surya running out, and then how they meet. Then he says, "और जब मैं नेताजी से मिला," and then we see Michael Kamraj, the shot that you see on the screen, and suddenly these two were separate scenes altogether, and they were taking a lot of time, and they were beautiful, and we really wanted these shots to be there. But we were just not. Of course, there were few ADRs added later to bind it, as you know, it will be there. But that magically, the visuals suddenly, it wasn't shot with that plan. Magically, those visuals started making sense, like how Ajoba might have run, so they are also running, how he faced problems, how this happened, and those just putting the sound of Ajoba below unified those two scenes, which were actually taking about 14 to 15 minutes on, logistically, it was taking 14 to 15 minutes on the screen, became like an 8 to 10 minute thing. And suddenly it became more impactful because you're seeing what he's saying. So this was one of those cuts in which, which we did it on table. But there was another thing which was already there in the script, was when young Surya and when Surya and Supri meet, when they are little adults, and there's a sound overlap, and they're pushing the wheelbarrow of money, master money, and there's a fight happening on sound. So that was a call that Vasan had taken, that he wanted to show that even if they're having fight, for master money, they'll do anything. So he was very clear from the beginning that he doesn't want to shoot that. The fight is secondary. They have found each other, and how they found each other, we have shown. He says ouch, and ouch nobody else says. So Supri knew. And when she saw Inspector, he knew that this is the same person. And master money, he's calling to master money, to yehi dono bulate the. So we've already cleared those things. And then the so-called overlap happens. And so that was something that was there in the script. But the earlier one was, we came to it. The whole process was done. The thing in which, if you're talking about the montage between Ajoba and young Surya, that was there in the script. That was there in the script. But this story wasn't there in the script. It was first that he reaches the house, he runs away, and everything happens, and then grandfather beats the goons, and then the story happens. So it was taking like a lot of time. So this is how we just, two things we overlapped and made some interesting story out. Hopefully. Yeah.
Manas, did you get your answer?
Yes, I did. Yes.
Thank you so much, first of all, for plugging in. And I just want to say that Manas himself is a brilliant artist. And for him to be with us here and listen to Prerna talk is just a privilege and an honor. And I hope we can all meet again at the Mami screenings, where we always meet. And Manas, thank you.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Can I request Priyanka Arora's audio and video to be put on, please? Hi, Priyanka.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. Thank you for plugging in.
Hi, Prerna. How are you?
Hello. Hi, Priyanka. Hi.
So I have a question. I am myself a film student at FTII. My diploma is left, and because of COVID, I'm back here in Delhi.
Okay.
So in FTI, we've been taught that editor is supposed to hide everybody's mistakes. Actor ki galtiyan, director ki galtiyan, camera ki galtiyan. But we know that hamari galtiyan is only the sound designer who's going to hide it. So I have personally experienced this in all my projects, that whatever mistakes I have done, and when I see them in the sound design, they are like gone, vanished.
Yes.
So how important do you think is the sound designer for you? Do you feel that he's hidden your mistakes, if he has?
Sound is important, I told you, and I generally do a little bit of sound design myself and then send it across. But there are also, of course, like you're talking about, there are certain things that have to be smoothened out in the sound process. And I've worked a lot with Anthony Rubin, and we work, because we've done so many projects together, we know each other, and we have a call, and I tell him that ye sound tha, and this was my cut, but I need a little smoothing out there. And so it's an effort, it's a collaborative effort. I tell him that, and he will handle the parts. Of course, sound design has his important part, and he also makes the whole film more 3D. I am only thinking it from the point of view of the narrative. Like I will be thinking supposing if you see Mard Ko Dard Nahi Hota fights, I will be. It's my responsibility to make sure for people to know that what is the difference between Supri's punch and what is the difference between Surya's punch, and where the leg breaks, where the teeth breaks or something like that. The sound has to be different. Like where did he miss the punch? That is my responsibility too, because it's a call of the narrative. Like if you remember in the I don't know if you've seen Mard. In Mard, the final fight in which Surya and Samurai are fighting. So it's a pointer game, and in which we have to show Surya misses 2 points. Visually, it looks as if it's a punch. It looks as if it's a punch, but it's my responsibility to add a whoosh, like it's miss. It goes through the air. So it's very important for me to give those information to the sound designer, and later on leveling and everything else. Of course. This whole process is not about hiding mistakes. It's about making the whole film much more engaging and much more interesting. Yeah, it's important job. Sound is, I really find sound very interesting because it makes your scene the scene it is. Like even in Peddlers, when we were shooting, there was no sound then, but Vasan and Ruben added a Tamil song, which meant something to them because they both are Tamilians. So it meant something. Suddenly that area became a Tamil special household. And these 2 people are plonked in 2 Marathi people and 1 Bangladeshi, 1 Marathi and 1 Bangladeshi in a Tamil household. So they again become out just through sound. Just through sound it was done. So that's how Ruben added that. Ruben and Vasan, they discussed. And so these are small things which will not be in your face, but it makes an impact and you will automatically understand.
One second, Priyanka, 1 second. Can we unmute Priyanka, please? She has something to ask.
Yeah.
So
when you were sitting on prep, because you're the associate director also, so when you were sitting on prep, did you write down your sounds, the basic sounds you wanted to do, before seeing the rushes? Did you have that kind of things in mind?
That is not an example at all. There was no prep. So there was just people to take up the camera and would go. So there was no prep. It was just you have to be alert and all your tools and everything, your editing mind has to be sharp enough and you have to do it. So in associate direction point of view, in Peddlers, it was more on-job thing because editing was coming later. I wasn't even thinking of editing while doing that. But since I was living with the rushes, so it kind of helped that I knew the rushes and I was living with the rushes. But for Mard, we did that. For Mard, before editing or after the shoot started, after reading the script and all, we started collecting a lot of punches and all the sounds. We downloaded it from YouTube and we did a little bit of research for fight sound because fight sounds can be very comic sounding. So we had to be sure about the sounds that we're using because Vasan was very clear that he wanted, even in the offline stages, the sound has to be very correct because it is also telling something about Surya as a person because he's very serious about his punches and so, those things. And he's a Kung Fu and martial arts fan, so it was very important to cater to his viewing experience as well. Vasan. But we did have a bank already and also the songs, some reference songs that we were thinking, which were eventually not in the film, but we cut on those. In Bombay Velvet, we did that. We downloaded a lot of jazz songs. SFX generally, we editors have a list, have a box full of always there. But specific for like Mard, the punches and the things were important. Yes.
Thank you, Priyanka. Thank you so much. Can I request Abhishek Singh's video to be put on and his audio?
Hi.
Hi, Abhishek. Go for it.
Hello. Hi.
My question is, how do you balance your vision with the director's vision? Because both are different on the each table.
Sorry, I didn't get the question. My vision and the director's vision you're asking.
Yeah, how do you balance it, Prerna?
See, first of all, we need to know it's not a fight in the edit room. We both are working towards making a single film. So, very important. Vision is one, make the film together. But of course, I have to give him options. For a scene, I would, if I feel that this scene has been done like this, but it can also be done another way, I will keep the option ready. I have to show it to him. But eventually, how the film is going to look, it's going to be his baby. I have to know that. But I have to put in all the possible options to him. He needs to see it. And most of the times we do bring in, I won't call it the editor's cut, but the cut that we have decided. Like this mud sequence, it was done randomly. We just put it because everybody was saying it's too long. So I just picked it up and put the visuals on the sound, and it worked. So that means I'm catering to Vasan's vision as well, right? And it's a thought that comes to my mind. So first of all, the vision has to be same. It's the film, it's the story, and we are all working towards making it. It's not a battleground. And as an editor, after FTI, you do feel that you have to be like very adamant, you have to be firm. It's not about being firm. It's about telling your point of view, putting it across, and it's a two-way process. So yeah, your vision is generally you show your vision. You show your vision, what you feel, and then it's up to it's up to the director, him or her, whether they take it or not.
Thank you, Abhishek. Can I please request Priyanka Rehal's video to be put on and her audio, please? प्रेरणा पानी नहीं पिया, अभी पानी पी लो कम से कम यार. Hi Priyanka.
Hi.
Go for it. Hi.
Hi, good evening.
Hi.
My question is, how do you plan on accentuating the importance of B-rolls and montages on your sequence? Like you have J cuts and L cuts on the start and end of your video. This is the type of importance. But when you have B-rolls and montages, how do you plan on putting the transitions and the sound effects to really give them an important role?
Okay. So again, Peddlers, we haven't seen, but hopefully it comes out soon. In Peddlers, even though it was a small budget film, there were a lot of ambient shots taken, which really helped us. I'm sorry for the sound in the background of my daughter. Anyhow, so that's another B-roll happening. So there were a lot of shots taken of that area, which helped us because once we lost the footage, I used a lot of that, and I bound it all together with the sound of if it starts with "Kaun aage gaya," that's the film, and we make it. We turned it into a radio sound, and so all those B-rolls helped me in establishing the area and in making us aware of where this story is set. In that case, it was Worldly Village. And if I have to take another example of B-rolls, would be tigers. In tigers, we've used. In fact, the B-roll is a very important part, and the babies are all B-rolls. And we have. It was shot in Pakistan, and we had to put it in the film that we showing as if Dr. Faiz is showing those babies. So sound again played a very important role. Throughout the cry was dubbed in a way that it was similar to, when we were cutting across, people would not understand where we are cutting to. So there were two separate, these things were shot separately. And so sound, of course, makes it a nice bridge to cover it. Like B-rolls really help us in certain situations we are stuck in, and helps us in establishing a place and stuff like that. Yeah, so I don't know. I hope I've answered your question.
Thank you. Oh, just can you unmute Priyanka for a second, please? Yes, Priyanka.
Does this B-roll and montage planning come on your storyboard as well when you plan the entire script, or is that planned later on? Like on what stage is it done?
So it is done on both stages. Like, for example, in Bombay Velvet, the starting we see a shot of workers working and land filling up and all. So that was already thought of. So that was a B-roll taken by the second unit team. So it was already thought, and that montage was already thought of. But again, then talking about Peddlers, that was just random shots they had taken because those shots were there, and we had to collect as much because we knew we will fall short of rushes. Peddlers was a different experience altogether. But like in Tigers again, B-roll was planned. It was planned, but the shot taking wasn't planned. But of course, that this is what we want was planned. In Bombay Velvet, everything was planned in a very specific way, that this is how we want, and it was a second unit job, like in which Khambata tells Johnny Balraj for the first time that if you stab the person and it's projected on the projector, it is a proper shoot by second unit. It was done, and then the effect was put in later, but it was shot, so it was already thought and planned in the script level itself.
Thank you, Priyanka. Can I please request Yashodhara's video and audio to be put on? That's a lovely question right there. Yashodhara Udupa, please.
Hi.
Hi, Yashodhara, we can't see you. Is your video on?
Yes, yes, it is.
Okay, go for it.
Thanks. This has been very useful, and the way you speak about it also makes it seem like a very accessible. You make your work sound very accessible. I wanted to know how you use silence while editing, because it's also a way of drawing attention to something. It also is a way of evoking emotions. So if you could tell us a little bit about, since we're talking about sound, but also about silence.
Of course, silence. It's silence is again an experience, right? You've heard about, you experience. I don't know how you experience silence, but a room tone would be silence for you, like and it wasn't like tone was a silence. It's actually silence, but it is anything. So silence will be always. I don't know how I'll use it, but it depends on different films how I'll use it. But let me think of an example where I've used it in a film per se. I know how it was used in silence though in Martin Scorsese's film. The film starts with a really silent soundtrack. Even the logos of the corporate films and all, there is no sound there, and it was a special thing that they had. It's in net that they did a special request that the corporates do not put music there. They purposefully had silence there so that people are drawn into the film that way. That's a good example. Watching silence is good. And even in Amour, if you see, there's no music apart from the piano sequence. They haven't used sound, because I think they were showing that the windows are also not opened, and later on, once the window opens, and you hear the sound again. So, yeah, to explain how I'm going to use sound, as I told you, I do things on instinct. When it comes to me, I will use it. And it's a very powerful tool, but I don't remember how I use it in a film. I haven't, not that I know of, but I know people who have used it, and it's quite powerful, of course.
Thank you, Yashodhara. Can we unmute Avinash, please? Avinash M, can we mute Avinash M? Hi, Avinash.
Hi.
Hi, go for it, Avinash.
Hi, Avinash.
Hi, Prerna ma'am. So my question is, so you have to make a call on edit table, right? And you worked on mainstream film like Bombay Velvet and festival films like Lunchbox. So how different is it? Like these are two extreme things where, like how different is taking a call for both these films on edit table?
Lunchbox I did not edit. It was done by John, and I did not edit it, but Bombay Velvet I did. So
okay, in that case, for Mard ko dard nahi hota. So yeah.
So how do I take my edit decisions?
Yeah.
For every film, I don't have a plan. When I go into the edit room, I am blank and I'm nervous, and I have only read the script, and then I start watching rushes, and then I became more nervous, and then I start making notes, and then notes after notes, and then slowly the film starts forming in front of you. So the script becomes your Bible. That's my process for every film. And the edit style is always directed by the way, how the script is. The script demands an editing style. Like Mard, like for example, Tigers wanted intercuts between two stories. It's the style, but there'll be a film in which it's singular, like Paglet. Paglet is about one person. And in Paglet, you're following one person throughout. So the way I did that is making sure that she's there, or she's been spoken about, or that person is throughout there. This is the new film that this is the next film I'm doing now. It's almost done. So me taking edit decisions are not a style or an approach that I already have. I don't have a style, and I think that's the best way to approach any film. You don't have to have a style. You go inside the room, go in with a blank mind, and let it fill up. Let the rushes fill it up, and automatically you will get the answers. You start editing, the rhythm will be there. It's also, you get a lot of rhythm from the way the shots are being taken. You know, you will understand how they want you to cut. So these things come with experience, and these things you don't have to, like, a DOP will not call me or tell me, but I will. It's automatic. It will flow. That's how they want it to happen. So you have to see the rushes again and again, and the rhythm will be there. The cutting style will be there. So I don't think I'll ever have a cutting style, and I don't want to have a cutting style. I want to reinvent. Why will I have a cutting style? I don't want to. I want to be different with every film and every script, and it will be fun that way, no? And I don't approach it as a commercial film or a festival film. Both have to be engaging. Audience have to, and Lunchbox was engaging for people. It wasn't just a festival film. People loved it. People like my aunts and everybody, they loved the film, not because I was working in it, because they are very critical about the films I work on. They liked the film and they said they enjoyed it. And then there will be a post on the Facebook as well that they enjoyed the film. So it's not about festival films or not festival films. The cutting will, you have to be honest to the subject, you have to be honest to the script. And that's the only way.
Thank you, Avinash. Oh, no. Unmute him, please. Poor thing.
Okay. I mean, from the production house, and how does it call? I mean, if you give it. Hello, am I audible now? Yeah. Okay. I mean, if you were to give a call, what is the difference between a mainstream film and this kind of film for a production house end? In that point of view, I'm saying, because no. Because in a mainstream film they have duration issues and all this kind of stuff, right? So, and production houses will make you ask for a song to place in between or kind of stuff. So that is the thing. I'm.
So, Prerna, I just want to kind of add to Avinash's question. What he means to say is that the grammar, of course, the film has to be engaging, but the grammar sometimes becomes different because other than the narrative, you're thinking about a lot of other considerations, the market considerations, kind of accentuating certain things that you might not in an independent film. I mean, both have to be engaging. I mean, I run a festival. Festival films are not dull, guys. I just want to please tell you. They're very interesting, very engaging. But maybe, like, if you could talk about the approach of the producers, independent producers and mainstream producers.
I've heard about these things that you're being. See, as an editor, you're not forced to put in a song. The director is being forced to put in a song. I will just have to cut it and put it in. You get the difference. The pressure is not on me. Well, people do take that pressure on themselves, but I don't take these kind of pressures. Like, if there is a song and if it works on the script level and if the producer and the directors have decided it, then I will put it in. But, and I should know, it's something that is required. It could be from commercial point of view where they have promised the broadcasters that this will be there and it is essential for the film to release. Then who am I to stop? I can't stop that I will not put that song. If it is required, and it's a director's call completely. But having said that, I can say one thing is that, it's not about, there are constraints in both things. Durations are constraints in both things. Like in Peddlers, we had another kind, like we would not get shots only, like in Peddlers. Because the camera is not there, so we would use 5D, GoPro and stuff like that. So I cannot be choosy about saying that this footage will not work here. I have to put it in. I have to respect the rush in that case. In big films like Bombay Velvet and all, though in Bombay Velvet we had no restrictions as such, like we were editing, because I think Anurag sir was taking all the pressure on himself before it could come on to me, and I was just plain and simply editing it. There was no pressure as such. but I haven't really experienced, because I've not done that many films which are so-called, you call them commercial, where I have to put in a song. When you get into a film like that, you already know there'll be 4 song sequences. There will be, like, the script will only say that there is, so you're already aware that there's going to be song. Nobody's going to force you to put a song. Ajkal, I think everybody has become very clear. You know what you're getting into. Like, and when you sign a film, it's not a festival film per se. They all wanted to be commercial and, you know, play in festivals, recognition and everything. So yeah, I don't think so. Producers nowadays, as long as they get money, itna koi pressure nahi. And the pressure, if it is there, it is on the director. It's not on the editor.
अविनाश, तुम्हारा रास्ता क्लियर है. तुम डायरेक्टर को प्रेशर लेने दो.
हाँ, कभी pressure. The key rule, the thumb rule is in my life, never take pressure for anything. Everything will be sorted. So just chill.
So, Prerna, the last question is a question from YouTube. So I'm just going to ask that question, and then of course we'll do a master shot. So I want all the 20 participants to be on standby. But the question is by Sujay Bhosle. And Sujay wants to know that how does an editor work with the unfinished VFX work?
Wow. There are 2 kinds of unfinished VFX works. One which doesn't affect the narrative much. Like there is like some green screen in background and which has to be filled up, and there is certain VFX which affect the narrative. Like for example, I was lucky though. Mani's leg, like the leg, he had one leg, but he was a great actor. He's a great actor. So he was limping all through. But I was thinking, what if he did not? What if he was walking and he thought कि मेरा limp आ जाएगा? So that would have been a problem to me. When we are working with VFX shots, we already have read it on the script. So we start imagining it in our heads. And we also sit with the VFX supervisors. Like for Bombay Velvet, we did sit with the VFX supervisors who had already created previs for certain things. Like the exterior shot of Bombay when the Bombay is there, how Bombay Velvet is going to look after. So I've already seen those visuals. So once you've seen those visuals, you are aware. So it's in the back of your head, and then you start cutting the film from narrative point of view, like how you will not bother about the green screen. You will cut a dialogue sequence as a dialogue sequence. You will cut between 2 scenes as between 2 scenes, because you already know what the end product is. So you have to be you are generally always in that meeting in which VFX decides what to do, what not to do. So we know what's going to happen, and once you're aware of it, it's not difficult. Like for example, Mani's leg was one of the concerns that I had before the shoot started, but he was brilliant. He was limping in any case. So his body movement was always jumping and stuff. Had he not done that, it would have been a problem to cover it. How would I show somebody, if somebody's limping, he has to have a little bounce, no? He bounces a little. So that was my worry, but which was sorted. Like, it wasn't a problem much. But you have to be in touch with the VFX guys, and you need to know, you need to see the previous before, how they're planning to do the certain things, and if your cut will affect because of this, or they come in later and they see your cut and they plan and show you. So it's a very back and forth thing of VFX.
Thank you so much, Prerna. Can I request everyone who participated to put on their videos? We just want to take a master shot, guys, and really first of all, celebrate Prerna and the lovely work that she's done, and also the fact that she's given us so much of time and been so generous with sharing. So Prerna, thank you so much. And I'm just going to ask the producers at Mami, guys, are you ready? I don't see more videos coming on. Yeah. Guys, your videos on. Can I just request everyone to put on their videos, please?
Mama, video on karo.
Prerna's like, kitna time laga rahe ho? Karo video on. Okay, guys. Meghna, take a master shot, please. Okay, I think we are done. Prerna, thank you so much. I want to let everyone know that next Thursday at 5 o'clock, we have a very special session with filmmaker Anjali Menon. She's a fantastic filmmaker, and she's going to be telling us how she prepares meticulously to improvise. So join us, sign up for it. Let your friends know about the series, spread the word. And Prerna, thank you one more time for doing this.
Thank you, Smriti, for always supporting and being such a fine friend. Like in this industry where you have very little, you are one of very, very close people.
Thank
Friend.
you. Honor. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a great evening, everyone.
Thank you.